Time is running out for these pilot whales. Volunteers do whatever they can to save the mammals, keeping them warm and wet before trying to get them back out to sea.
I was here first thing this morning, and there was a small group of us, and essentially we went out and saw one of the biggest strainings I've ever seen.
There's a lot of death there, which is a sad thing, but hey, if we can get some of them out, then it's got to be a good thing.
More than 400 whales beached themselves in Golden Bay on New Zealand's South Island on Thursday. Conservationists decided that a rescue in the dark would have been too dangerous. By morning, about 3/4 of the creatures had died.
Yeah, this is the third largest mass stranding that we've recorded in our history, and so it's a very large one. Logistically, it's a massive undertaking.
Scientists have different theories as to why whales become stranded. Illness or old age could result in navigational errors. Others might be attempting to help a beached member of the pod. This instinct perhaps coming to play as the refloated whales try to swim back to shore. The human chain of volunteers hopes to stop them becoming stranded again.
Thursday, Nevada was hit with a winter storm made up of 90-mile-an-hour winds. It caused mudslides and rock slides. It caused flooding and road closures. It knocked over power lines and flipped semi-trailer trucks. Overall, 10,000 homes lost power, and Interstate 80 West had to be closed because of 3 mudslides that blocked it. Meg Ragonis, a Nevada Department of Transportation spokeswoman and witness of the storm, stated, "Since Monday, we've had 5 very large boulders come down, literally the size of buses. This storm was definitely a doozy."
Well, here's a perfect example of why you need to pay attention. Goodness, wow, to wind advisories. Tuesday, February 7th, near Elk Mountain in Wyoming, 3 state troopers were at the scene of an accident on Interstate 80. And they didn't know it at first, but they were really lucky to be out of their cars because moments later, this happened. Thankfully, no one was injured, not the police because they were out of their vehicle, and not the 2 people in the truck because they came out okay too. The Wyoming State Patrol posted this on their Facebook page and asked people to use it as an example of why you should travel at, number 1, reduce speeds when wind advisories are issued. There is growing concern in California at a damaged spillway in the north. Officials had opened the floodgates wide at the Oroville Dam after the reservoir was filled nearly to capacity after recent record rainfall, but the rushing torrent gouged an immense hole down the concrete spillway. To stop the growing damage, overflow could be rerouted to the reservoir power plant or to an unpaved emergency spillway.
Water that wasn't flowing in a uniform manner, which it normally does in the when the spillway is operating normally. And so we called it in. We were able to shut the spillway off and did an inspection and found that a large hole had formed in the base of the spillway. And so that was what started this event. And we wanted to get an assessment of the damage because we still would like to be able to use the spillway, knowing it's going to be a big repair that we're going to have later on this year. But we definitely would like to have use of the spillway if we can. The reason for that is because if the lake continues to rise up and we can't use the spillway, then eventually what's going to happen is it's going to reach its maximum elevation of 901 feet, and water's going to go over what's called the emergency spillway. This spillway up here is designed to keep the water, to direct the water over to an area that's away from the dam, because you never want water to go over the top of a dam, because then it can cause harm to the dam. The downside of water going over the emergency spillway, which is up here, is it would go down the hillside and would take out trees and soil and create a big mess in the diversion pool down below. Obviously there was expected erosion that occurred. The erosion was one of our engineers looked at it and said, well, considering what they were expecting as a worst case scenario, it actually didn't look that bad. So they decided, okay, let's run water through throughout the night. So last night they turned the spillway back on, ran water over the night. They turned it off at 7 o'clock this morning, I believe it was, and assessed it. And of course there was some additional erosion, but it was all most of the erosion was in the lower portion of it. So they decided that they could operate the spillway. And they're actually in the process of doing that right now. So there's 35,000 cubic feet per second going over the spillway.
Good evening. Perth has been hit by a once-in-a-century weather event, bringing the second wettest day on record. Tonight it's also triggered an evacuation alert to our northeast. The city was drenched by more than 100 millimetres of rain in 24 hours, flooding roads and homes and causing traffic chaos. Tonight there's a developing emergency in Northam, where the Avon River is in danger of bursting its banks and flooding homes. An urgent flood alert is also out for the Swan River tonight, with levels expected to rise rapidly in the coming 24 hours. It's on the back of those record-breaking rains that washed out homes, flooded roads and put cars underwater across the city.
An actual fire tornado. Take a look at this incredible video. This was coming out of the Western Australia coast. Some of these flames reached about 60 feet tall. Now, keep in mind, fire bans in place in Australia, and the heat is the big story here. In fact, Australia likely to set many more records in the coming days. And so not only the fire is a concern, but also power loss a concern in the country as well. Taking you out now to the satellite, you can see high pressure certainly in control here, and all of the moisture really kind of skirting around the heart of Australia, which is where they really could use some much needed rain. Not going to be the case, so very hot here, above average temperatures for the coming days. In fact, we're looking at temperatures well above average. Look at some of these numbers here. In Sydney, the average high temperature just 24 degrees. We're looking at highs at 37 for Saturday. Sydney, by the way, could break a 121-year record for the hottest temperatures. Melbourne also looking very hot at 26. A little bit cooler as we get into the beginning of next week. Still, though, going to be very rough for the folks here over the next couple of days.
A series of landslides have killed at least 12 people on the Indonesian island of Bali. Torrential rain swept through the area, burying homes and villages. Heavy rainfall is expected to continue through the weekend. The National Disaster Agency says people have been evacuated and others have been warned to stay away.
For the first time in decades, archaeologists say they have found another cave they believe once held Dead Sea Scrolls. A team of scientists was excavating a cave near the northwestern shore of the Dead Sea when they discovered pretty much everything except a completed scroll. The long list of uncovered items includes smashed jars, a piece of blank parchment, cloth used to wrap scrolls, and a leather strap that would have bound a scroll together. Archaeologists say the cave was most likely looted, considering they found a pair of pickaxe heads from the 1950s. As one of the team members told the Washington Post, thank God they took only the scrolls. They left behind all the evidence that the scrolls were there. Until now, scientists thought only 11 caves had contained Dead Sea Scrolls, which are historically, religiously, and linguistically important. The first scrolls were discovered in the late 1940s. It's unclear who wrote them, but some scholars believe a Jewish sect known as the Essenes may have been responsible. Archaeologists say they will continue excavating in the desert northwest of the Dead Sea in the hopes of finding more ancient treasures.
Exciting stuff, a triple treat, no question about it. Of course, the snow moon is happening. We showed you the almost full moon, right? As it rises tonight, it will be full, and that'll happen at 6:11 p.m. It'll continue to rise, and we call it the snow moon for obvious reasons, right? We're in February. typically the snowiest month of the year. Now, we have three kind of lunar eclipses. We have the partial, which looks like somebody took a chunk out of the moon. The total, which is when you get that red glow, my favorite. And then there's the penumbral, right? This is the one that's going to be happening tonight. I will put this in motion. Watch the moon and watch what happens. Did you see it? You didn't. You probably won't tonight either. Very dim, very subtle. It's happening at 7:43, but if you gaze up, you may see the moon dim a little bit. Not the most exciting thing in the world, but there it is, Comet 45P. That is coming out of the Hercules constellation, so if you have a telescope preferably or binoculars, you want to look up at the sky, and you may catch 45P.
And now on to some breaking news we are keeping a close eye on out of France this morning. French police have arrested 4 suspected terrorists and possibly stopped a suicide attack.
The arrests happening in Montpellier, the southern part of the country, and they include a teenage girl. The prosecutor's office says they found about 2.5 ounces of TATP in an underground lab. Now, that's the explosive used in the November 2015 attack in Paris and the March 2016 attack in Brussels. This is a breaking news situation. We will keep you updated on it.
A Russian jet accidentally killed 3 Turkish soldiers and injured 11 others in an airstrike in northern Syria on Thursday. The incident took place in the ISIL-controlled town of El Bab, where a warplane bombed a building with Turkish soldiers inside. A Kremlin statement says President Putin called his Turkish counterpart Erdogan to express his condolences, blaming the incident on poor coordination between the two sides. The statement added the 2 leaders have agreed to increase military cooperation against ISIL in Syria. The Turkish military said both countries are conducting a joint investigation.
Morning singer Jason Derulo is claiming he was the victim of racial discrimination by American Airlines employees in Miami. The Want Me singer used his Instagram to complain about the alleged mistreatment as he attempted to fly from Miami to Los Angeles. A dispute arose over the number of bags his entourage was attempting to check in. The airline telling the group it would cost an extra $6,000 for all that luggage. Once on board, Derulo claims the pilot used profanity and ordered them off the plane. 15 officers were waiting for them at the gate. The situation was eventually settled. The singer believes if he wasn't a celebrity, police would have arrested him.
Ministers. On a point of order.
On a point of order. President Jacob Zuma tried to start his speech several times.
Can you please recognize us? Provincial legislature of the NCOP, you cannot.
But he was repeatedly drowned out. When the opposition economic freedom fighters refused to leave, a brawl broke out. The EFF says Zuma has no right to speak after the country's highest court found he violated the constitution.
We are prepared to leave this parliament, being in a coffin, standing for the truth. We are not going to be intimidated by soldiers, by police, by criminals.
The official opposition, the Democratic Alliance, is considering legal action over the president's deployment of soldiers onto Cape Town streets to keep the peace. In the end, it was peace inside Parliament that proved impossible.
Let us stand up for the Constitution of the Republic. Let us stand up for the people of South Africa. We can't sit in a parliament that's just there to stand up for the ANC.
When Zuma finally started the speech, the message was a familiar one.
Today, we are starting a new chapter of radical socio-economic transformation. We are saying that we should move beyond words to practical programs.
Economic growth has slowed to 1% and unemployment is at a 13-year high. Increasing numbers of South Africans don't believe the ANC can deliver, especially with an embattled president who's facing mounting criticism from within his own party. The opening of Parliament was chaotic and shambolic. Opposition parties would have people believe that's a true reflection of the real state of the nation. For the ANC, there's the risk the president's message has been drowned out, while many South Africans must be wondering what else the year will bring. Tanya Page, Al Jazeera, Cape Town.
Well, today, some elementary students will get a chance to witness dozens of immigrants officially become U.S. citizens.
St. Dominic School in Delhi is hosting the ceremony at 1. And 9 on your side's Tamika Artis spoke with a couple from Germany about what this day means to them. Tamika.
Chris, Catherine, this is an exciting time for these families. You know, we're all about America here on Good Morning Tri-State. Sure to see plenty of these waving around there later on this afternoon. You may even see a few of these when it's all said and done. The stage is set for St. Dominic, but what is sure to be an emotional event as 60 people take the oath of allegiance to become U.S. citizens. The ceremony will take place inside the church rec room before an audience of dignitaries, loved ones, and students from the 7th and 8th grade political science classes. Among those being sworn in, Frank and Monica Bernhardt, who live in Westchester. Now, they learned last month in a letter that they had met all of the requirements for naturalization. The couple moved here from Germany in 2002. That is when Frank's IT job with P&G was transferred here to Cincinnati. They told me they're excited to become citizens, but they do have some concerns about some of the president's immigration policies, that they might keep some good people out and hurt the country in the long run.
I understand some of the motivation that he has behind it, but on the other hand, usually the people that are coming in from other countries and that applied for a green card, they're here, they're actually accepted as a green card holder for a reason. The reason is that they bring either enormous talent or capabilities.
What I really like about it is that I can live here forever. There would be no questioning about that.
According to the Global Business Travel Association, President Donald Trump's travel ban caused airlines to lose $185 million in business travel bookings. The travel ban has caused the travel industry to become confused and uncertain as it waits for political leaders to come to a final decision. Travel editor Peter Greenberg stated, "This is an immediate and noticeable decline in people coming to the U.S. as a result of the executive order. Tourism brings in high-value dollars to the U.S., and it's an important employer of a lot of people in America."
There was an explosion here, and obviously a fire started about 7 p.m. tonight. This facility is now owned by Phillips Petroleum. Workers were cleaning a pipeline either right in the area or nearby. We're still a little bit unclear about that part. But some kind of way it was ignited, whether a valve failed or a gasket failed, they're not sure. There were 6 employees who were working at the site. 3 were Phillips Petroleum workers and 3 worked for Blanchard Contractors Company. As of right now, we've accounted for 5. 2 were taken immediately in personal vehicles to St. Anne Hospital in Raceland. We understand 1 has burns. He is being evacuated to the Baton Rouge Burn Center. We have one employee that we still have not accounted for. I'm not sure which of the companies he works for at this point. So we're looking up. We got Jefferson Parish is sending its helicopter. So we're going to try to get a look at the site to make sure we know what's going on. It is a very high pressure fire, high intensity. I mean, when you get close to it, it is singing. It is really singing, and the tone goes. Changes. So it is allowed. It's a scary fire, but it's burning off, and that's what we're hoping for, that it safely just burns off. But it may be hours, and maybe even, he's telling me, maybe even a day or so. So we're probably going to be here for a few hours.
Breaking news in France. We're learning there was an explosion at a nuclear power plant this morning. Let's go to ABC's Lama Hassan for the latest. Good morning, Lama.
And good morning to you, Georgia. This is a fast developing story. Here's what we know. This morning, an explosion in the engine room at a nuclear plant on France's northern coast sparked a fire, injuring at least 5 people at the plant. The fire is believed to have started by a fan which had a hardware malfunction in the engine room where the electricity is produced. Rescuers are at the scene assessing the damage right now. Officials have told ABC News that there is no risk of a radiation leak, calling it a significant technical event, but not a nuclear incident because the fire took place outside the nuclear zone.